Disclaimer. Before we begin, we want to clarify the opinions shared by our guest, Pura Luka Vega, are his personal views and do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast host. This discussion is centered around LGBTQ plus advocacy and personal experience, and we aim to approach sensitive topic with respect and an open mind. While we discuss religion and related issues, our intention is not to attack or disrespect any belief system, but rather to foster understanding and raise an awareness. We appreciate your understanding and encourage respectful listening. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome back to Matcha Talk Podcast. I'm Liam.
I am Net.
So today we have someone from the Philippines. We're going international today. So this person is he's well known for his appearances at Manila Luzon's Drag Gen, and also his performance of Ama Namin has been controversial back in 2023. If you've seen CNN or T Patrol, all of those other news outlet, he's there. Also, you may know him as in Pride March as well. He's well known for his advocacy for LGBTQIA rights, and also he talks about the SOGIE Bill. All right, let's welcome Pura Luka Vega.
Hey girl. Hey Leo. Hey
Hello,
Nat.
how are
Thank you for
you?
having me here. Yeah.
Hello.
I'm good. How are
Hi.
you?
We are
We're
doing
good.
good.
We're doing good. We're so excited and we're so happy that you choose us to be your first American podcast to kind of like come in and guest. So
Woohoo.
yeah, we're so thankful for that. Um, so before we start and everything, how's the weather there? How are you? And yeah.
So how's the weather here? Well, we haven't had any typhoons yet. So just
Yes.
yet, because sometimes we do
For
have a lot
December.
of for December. No entries for December, which is good.
It got denied
Um,
entry, that's why.
yeah, it went to another country, I guess. But I'm actually doing really, really well. It's the time of the year wherein drag queens would usually have a lot of gigs.
Mm.
And it's not so heavy with my day job during December, so it's cool. It's a cool month.
Ah, I mean, and that explains because like you guys are everywhere in social media. It's like during
Yeah,
like this is like the
I
season,
agree.
Yeah.
I see
Um,
your Instagram and it's like, oh my God, you're like constantly posting, you're constantly performing. Like, do you and how do you find time to do all of this?
I think I've always used my art form to kind of like balance whatever um life I had in the office, or
Mm,
or sometimes I think it's just a nice escape. I mean, you can't take social media that seriously, but at the same time, it's also a way for you to kind of put yourself out there for people to know what exactly you're doing as an
mm,
mm,
artist. I think that's also um the type of thing that artists would have to kind of deal with, to have this social media presence. Um, it's a learning thing. We still have to go through that learning curve of trying to kind of package or let people know what we're doing.
mhm.
right.
And a
Eh,
way of doing that is actually just posting a lot of shit on social media. Yeah.
I try to do that, and I it's just so hard.
yeah, the trends technically, it's always
It
Yeah,
changing.
or
is, it
even
is,
just
it
post
is.
life. It's hard to just post life.
Oh
Yeah, don't
gosh.
don't follow the trends, girl. Like, don't. Just make your own. Make your own trend. Make it
I'm
yours.
gonna do everyday vlog. Just kidding. And then I fail every time.
Well, speaking of
Why
trend and
not? Why
social
not?
media,
Yeah.
well, speaking of trend and social media, there's a trend happening right now in TikTok called "We Listen and We Don't Judge."
Mhm.
So, as icebreaker, we're gonna
Okay.
do this for a little Vega. We listen and we don't judge. So we all say it together: "We listen and we don't judge."
Okay.
Let's do it in three, guys. Three, two, one. We
We
listen
listen and
and
I
we
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 don't
listen
don't
and we don't
judge.
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 Oh my
Okay.
god, we're not sync, guys.
Sorry.
Okay, one more time. One, two, three, go. We
We
listen
We
listen
listen
and
and we
and we
we
don't
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 judge.
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 I blame the internet. I blame the internet signal. It's because the
It's the
internet. Someone is
internet.
lagging.
Yes.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
go first. Okay.
Go.
So, I usually eat like I said, peanut Milo. You guys know the powder, the Milo,
Mhm.
Yes.
the
Yes.
drink. So I always put that in a bread, in the spreading when I was
Uh-huh.
younger, and then that's like my guilty pleasure. We listen and we don't
And we don't judge.
Yeah.
judge.
Wasn't that
Man, that was
embarrassing? I think a
fast.
lot of kids would do that. Yeah.
Because like I feel like a lot of people like look at me like, why do you do that? That's like for drinking. I'm like,
Well, I
don't.
probably the Americans would be. I mean, the white guys. Probably, but
They're like,
Like,
what
what
is
the
that?
heck? Yeah,
What's
true.
Milo?
what's
And
Milo?
it's
Parang ganon. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like my
yeah.
guilty pleasure, guys. Like that's like my yeah. Okay, next one.
Hmm.
Okay, let's say again. Let's
I can
try it
hear you.
again, guys. We
Okay.
listen
Listen
We
and
listen
and
and
we
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 don't
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 judge.
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 Okay, who's up
Okay,
first?
I can go next. I didn't really think about this because I don't think there's so much embarrassing things that I just kidding. I say a lot of embarrassing things, but one for sure is when people give me something as a gift, I would always accept it. I would never say no. But if I know that I may not be for me or not useful for me, I will regift this gift because I know it will be good for somebody else because they can try it out. So we all know what that gift is all about. And if they come back and ask, how was the gift? I said, it was great. I use it all the time.
Oh gosh, we
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 listen
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 and
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 we
we
we don't
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 judge.
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 Well, Net, I'm
You
gonna
know that
gift
wasn't
it.
Just don't post on
honestly. I
social
do the
media.
same thing. I do the same thing.
See? I'm
I
not
do
the
the
only
same
one.
thing. I think that's more sustainable for the planet, for people
Yes.
to just like, if it doesn't serve you, give it to someone who might be able to use it better. It's fine.
Yes.
Mm.
It's
I don't
fine.
need a
Yeah.
duplicate or, multiple things.
Yeah. It's the thought that matters, I think.
Mm-hmm. Sharing is
Well,
caring.
Scary,
I
scary.
I think okay. I don't. This is funny, but
Hold
I think most
on.
drag queens do this anyway. So I don't wash my pantyhose.
What? Oh,
Girl,
okay.
what?
We we
We
we
Like what?
listen?
listen
I do.
and we don't judge.
I don't judge. No, I mean, I probably would wash them if it's about like 2 months or 3 months, and like it's like really used up. Like,
Oh my gosh,
When it's
like
really
girl.
you can already
sweaty
see the
and it's
stains.
oh my god.
I think
I
I think
mean,
Cora's being
drag queens are not the
sentimental.
cleanest. I could, well, yeah,
Hey,
yeah. Well, let's go with that. Oh, yeah, okay.
okay, just to defend my drag mom, Jethro is one of the cleanest one, okay? I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about others, but he is clean, okay? Like he's like organized. I've seen his closet
So
and
you're
then
saying I'm not clean? Is that it? But I'm the prettiest. Shut up.
Let's not generalize
That
this.
queen, that bitch can never.
We
Charot lang. Of
listen
course,
and we
it's
And we
a
don't
don't
judge.
judge.
oh,
Yes.
judge. Oh, I'm judging, but okay.
We'll judge later after the show.
We'll judge
We'll talk
True,
about
later.
this
true,
later.
true. Okay.
So, we listen and we don't judge. So, the second one I did was, so when I was younger, I would steal my sister's clothes because, like, because I love her brand. She used to work at this store called Nordstrom's.
Mm-hmm.
And then she would wear all of this like my folklores and all of this branded stuff, and I will be like, okay, I'll take her blazer with me to school in high school,
Okay.
and then shove it down in my backpack, and then
Uh-huh.
go to the bathroom, and then change over there, and then next thing you know, my friend posted it in Facebook, And then she commented, "Is that my blazer?" So we listen and we
And we
don't
And we
don't
don't
judge.
judge.
judge. It's okay.
Okay, my next one. This is kind of like truth. Is this a truthness into my comments? Okay, so when I see someone, so when I see someone outfits and they look good, I would say, "It look good on you. It's great." But if it does not look good, if it does not look good, I would still say, "Oh, your outfit look good on you. I could never imagine wear that on myself. I don't think it's gonna look good on me." Hint, you know?
Okay, so that's like a really sneaky way of saying like, oh,
It doesn't look
I don't know,
good.
girl.
Yes. So it can be double because sometimes I mean it, right? It's like, okay, it looked good on you. Great. But
Okay.
sometimes I really not mean it, but I don't think I could look good on that. But it
So
really doesn't
if
look
I hear
good.
you say that, okay.
It can mean two things. You would never know.
Okay.
Just kidding.
I see.
We'll
Yeah.
listen and we
She's
don't judge.
yeah, we listen and we don't
So we don't
judge.
judge.
Not at all. Unless if it's like really hideous, you just say it, oh, it's vintage. Great.
Yeah, if you look a little old and you haven't been washed for 2 months, and yeah, a little
Is it?
vintage.
Oh my god.
Okay.
We're getting
We
some
listen and we
new
don't
and we
judge.
don't judge.
Exactly.
With that as well, not to stir the pot, like is that like a thing in the drag scene as well? Like is some like drag queens' outfits a bit off or makeup's a bit off? Do you guys say something to each other and stuff? Or like a slight shade or
Well, I think the good if you're like really good friends with these queens, you'd probably just say the truth. I mean, you're doing them a favor. If anything,
Yeah.
Mhm,
if you're helping, there's a saying in the drag community that we fix each other's crowns.
mhm,
If someone
Mm.
needs a bit of a fixer upper, we just kind of like, hey girl, and that's very, I think, very Filipino. It's the whole, because some
Mm.
cultures don't necessarily do that, and I think
mhm,
there was a someone else's hair. It was not
Oh.
well received, but yeah, but in the Philippines, sometimes they would just like immediately fix your hair, but sometimes oh, let me fix that for you. um
mhm.
so it's a very well, I mean, there are some queens that would just let you like look like you're fucked up because they'd be like, why would I help her? but
Right, right.
but
Oh.
most queens, and I can say most queens are very kind here, so they'll
Okay.
just try to say what they
Uh-huh.
think can help you look wise, or and we just help each other out. Yeah.
Mm. I mean, that's good. That's like there's like a community, a sense of community as well in terms of
Yeah,
that.
and
I
we
love that.
judge, but we also listen.
Yes.
I mean, we listen, we don't judge. We kind of do
We
judge
gotta
here,
judge,
but
yeah.
it's okay.
We listen and we
And we
don't
don't
judge.
judge.
Okay, Pura, you're
Yeah,
the last one.
me for the last one.
Yes.
Huh? Why I did the Ama Namin remix.
We listen
We
and we
listen and we don't
don't
judge.
judge.
Oh my god, I
you
have to
you
look that
better.
up. Couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
Y- Well, speaking of drag, like how did it all started? Like, how did you discover your love for drag? And where did you get the name of Pura Luka Vega?
I started in enjoying drag around college time, but I didn't see myself doing it. I was just really such a fan of drag around, I don't know, when I was like probably 20 years old and so
Mm,
on. And then there were parts of it in my life that were like the darkest parts of my life as I grew up being queer in the country where I'm
mm,
in, that I kind of felt joy watching RuPaul's Drag Race. And this is true. I mean,
Mhm,
it was such an escape for me. And I'm not even doing drag at that time. It was just a fun show And I remember watching Manila's season and
Mm,
enjoying it so much that I also was enjoying season 6. That's actually my favorite one. Um, it was just, like for a queer person living in a very oppressive environment, and you see
mm,
this show that kind of just celebrates being who they are. You kind of you become a little bit hopeful, and you kind of enjoy watching it.
Mhm.
mm-hmm,
um but the first time I was in drag was actually when I was around 27. I was a cosplayer back
mm.
then, and
Oh,
cosplay was my thing for a while. And then you see
right.
other cosplayers cosplaying a character, but of a different gender. So they have this thing they call gender bend, wherein if
Mm,
it's like Naruto being female, a female version of Naruto.
yeah,
So
yeah.
all of these cosplayers are like, oh, that's possible. So I can do this. So I think I formally had a female character around that time. And then there was a nightclub who was like, hey, this is for newbie drag queens. So I was like, oh, great. Let me have a try. And then I never stopped. I actually just enjoy doing it like every month. That's how
Mhm.
I I I did that. So
I,
it was fun. It wasn't
wow.
it wasn't also even about the money that you could potentially win. It was
Mm-hmm.
just being there and being like a freak that you are, and you have a lot other freaks being in the same room, and there was like, hey girl. It was crazy energy, and it was like in a very safe space, and people was just like, like celebrating differences, and it's fine. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. That's
Mhm.
why I never stopped. Ever. Yeah.
And what was your
Eh,
first performance? Like, what was the first song? Sorry, Ned.
No, it's okay. My first song was, oh, I failed miserably for this one. This was, I was dressed up as Marie Antoinette.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was inspired by Madonna's 1990 performance of Vogue. She was wearing the exact
Um,
same dress by Glenn Close in the movie Dangerous Liaisons. It was amazing. It was, one of the best costumes I've ever seen. So I had something like that made. And
mhm,
then when it came to the lip sync battle, back then we were not told what song it will be. So we have
mm.
no preparation whatsoever what the song will be. It could be any pop song. And I wasn't quite, like, I have weird taste in music. Sometimes pop songs don't work for me. I was lip syncing to Greedy by Ariana Grande.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had a
And then,
Valentina moment. I have a Valentina moment. I have to cover my mouth. I was like, nope, no one's gonna see my lip sync because I don't know the lyrics to the song. So it's so
just
bad.
technically just dance there and stuff, just like
I
feel
had
the
a
music
fan
technically.
because Marie Antoinette would have a fan, so I would just cover my mouth, and then, well, obviously I lost, but people were so supportive because they liked my outfit. They like how I carried myself on stage.
mhm.
I believe. And then it was such a fun night. I didn't win, but in my mind I told myself I have to win next month. I have to win this
Mhm.
competition. I have to try. So I kept on joining. Hence me not, I did not stop. I just continued, and I just, like pull up a different character next time, or a different look, a different, just try, and then I really just enjoy it. Now,
Mm,
for when you were asking about my name, I
mhm,
initially went for just Luca. Luca was just my initial drag name,
Mhm.
mhm.
because there was the song by Suzanne Vega entitled Luca. I don't know if you've heard it. It's a 90s song. You're probably too young to to know these things. But it's
Yeah.
a Suzanne Vega. It's a nice song. It's like, it goes, "My name is Luca. I live on a second floor. I live
Oh,
upstairs from you. You can just check it out. Google it. I know.
I'll Google it later.
And
Definitely.
then, okay, sure. And then I just incorporated Pura because Pura was a name given to me by my college roommates when they make fun of
Mm,
me when I leave the bathroom because we have a communal shared bathroom.
Mhm.
So I
mm.
would have my towel on, have a Sabrina Carpenter moment, and be like, and be like, "Hey girl, andyan na naman si Pura." Gaganon sila. I was like, "Okay."
Do you take off the towel, be like, bam, like
No,
that to the
no,
Oreo? Okay.
they will not see the goodie.
Not for free, okay? Not for free. Well, with that saying, like, would you gonna keep your beard, full beard on? That's as like a signature look for your, you know.
Well, interesting you asked that because I started with no beard.
Mm,
I kept on shaving my beard. However, it just grows really, really fast. And then there was one club goer who was from Germany who said, Queen, most drag artists in Germany wouldn't even shave their beard. So it was like so he showed me pictures of how what drag was in his country, and I was like, whoa,
Mhm.
okay, if this is a possibility there, then it can also be a possibility here.
Yeah.
So
mm-hmm,
unknowingly I was unknowingly I did not intend to be the first bearded queen out there, and definitely I'm not the first one, but I think I'm the first um commercially known one. I think I don't know, because some of the bearded drag queens who are friends of mine are too shy to actually perform at the time. It's like this was like around
mm,
2017.
right.
So there aren't a lot of bearded drag, and I guess because not a lot of Filipinos are also bearded and to begin with. So
Right.
I
Right.
To
don't know.
grow full
So
beard, right?
yes, yes. Mm-mm.
Let's work for you. That's
So
good.
that's why I kept it. I kept it
That's
here. Yeah.
preparation.
Well, I mean, we trim it. I have to bleach it sometimes, so it fits the color of
Oh,
my
Oh yeah,
hair.
I see some of your pictures. You're like blonde sometimes.
right.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
I thought it was just like a,
Yeah.
hairspray color
Nope.
thingy. You
Nope.
just
Nope.
have
It
to,
wouldn't work.
He's
damn,
like,
It
I don't
wouldn't.
do
It
cheap things
wouldn't.
like that.
It, yeah.
the
It wouldn't be the
dedication.
same.
Mhm.
Wow, like the dedication to their craft, net. Like this just wow. The
Thank
timing,
you,
the
Liam.
dress. Yeah, of course. I mean, we gotta acknowledge that. Well, going through the performances and stuff, like there's like this big controversial of your topic that and a lot of people kind of like talked about it, specifically the religion side, the
Hmm.
Ama Namin. And looking back, like, do you think it achieved and what you like? Is there like a message to that when you did that, or was just like um is that like a conversation starter, or was that like something against the religion?
I think. Well, when I did that, I knew what my intent was. My
Mm,
intent was really to just make queer people at the party feel like, they can be faithful at the same time queer. Because there's always this notion that when you're queer and when you're part of the LGBTQIA plus community, that you're no longer a believer of the divine, or I don't know where they get this, but they feel like every gay kid is a worshiper of Satan. I'm like, and I don't even
mm,
have anything against that, but it's like these discussions or these narratives of queer people being excluded from churches has always been there for a really, really long time. And I guess
mm,
that also contributes as to why the anti-discrimination bill or the SOGIE bill was not even passed for how many years because there's so much interference from churches, from religious groups. I mean, if we really get down to it and we're talking about human rights, the rights to religion and the rights to whatever faith that you might have, is inherently yours. Whether you're queer or not, you should have that. You can express that. So
Mhm.
when I was performing that, there were two things that was running to my mind. The right to just be, to express yourself, of course, because as drag queens, that's just how you are. You express yourself, and also the message wherein you can have faith. And it was the one thing that I really did like when I performed that was people knew the lyrics to the song. People were singing to the song, which was an indicator for a drag performer that, hey, they know the song. So it's when I did that, when I was thinking about it, this is the Lord's Prayer. So if I have a version of queer Jesus in my mind, then the remix version is not a bad thing. It's just a remix version. Never really changed the lyrics of the song. It's just more upbeat. And just to note, I did not even make the song. This was on YouTube. It was anyone can view it, anyone can listen to it. And yet people have a problem with it when someone who's like me does this thing, they I think it's hard for people to actually recognize that the real problem during that controversy was homophobia.
Right.
Mhm.
It was really just people not understanding what it means to be queer and how queer people do things.
Mhm.
They're
Mm,
not familiar with it, and sometimes when they're not familiar with it or they don't understand it, the initial thing or response would to villainize it because it's easier, I guess.
right.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, from my point of view and from the point of view of the people who were at the party, who that was during Pride, mind you.
Mhm.
I
Mm,
performed that specifically on Pride, and it was in an art gallery.
mm,
So the setting was different. The space was safer for queer people to just perform,
mhm.
and I think it it was meaningful to me. It was very um I was just happy to see people who are, who understand what I did it for. And
Mhm.
I think the problem was, and I agree with this, is it's the reverse engineering of what my intent was. That was the problem. People have
Right.
this notion, that, oh, you did that to offend the church. No, I did not. I mean, you were not there. I
Right.
couldn't. I did not even do that in the church, and that was not my intended audience to begin with. So
Mhm.
I guess people need, and I think they should be comfortable with that of the fact that we queer people we exist. We're here. We're not going
Mhm.
anywhere. you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Um. So yeah, I mean, so deal with that. I mean, I'm not moving. So if you don't want to watch whatever I have to perform, then don't watch. Just move to another
Yeah.
channel. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-mm.
I really so just wanted to clarify because I
Mm-hmm.
some people kind of like attention spam, kind of like shorten. You never
Okay.
intended to kind of like attack the church, correct?
Mhm.
I did not attack the church, and I kind of was a bit hurt when the church reacted as such because I am part of the Catholic Church, although I do not
Mm,
practice it as religiously as some of my mom is Catholic, so I'm very Catholic. But my understanding of Catholicism or my understanding of Jesus is that Jesus loves people, all types of
Mhm.
people, different people. He especially loves the ones who are going through a lot in their lives, like the
Mhm.
mm,
impoverished, the queer people, for sure. And I say this with so much conviction. For sure, if Jesus were alive, he will stand up for the ones who are oppressed. And the queer community is one of the most oppressed groups in the world, and I'm talking about, not just in my part of the country. I mean, if Jesus full of love, I have not heard of a very hateful Jesus.
right.
But the people who have been vocal in social media, who have filed a case against me, I don't know where the hate is coming from. But if they're trying
Mm.
to defend Jesus in that manner, I don't think Jesus would even like that one. But that's just me. I
Right.
feel like no one, God needs no defense. I mean, he's God, of
Mhm.
course. He can defend himself for sure. But Jesus is just full of love. I think
Yeah.
if you're a believer of the divine, he would love people. He loves the gays. I think he loves the gays. The gays are like I yeah, I really do believe that he made the gays extra
Right.
special.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Right.
So yeah.
after like after your performance and all of that happened, like when you
hmm
get arrested and all, like what went through your mind at the moment? It's like, what the heck did I do? Like how did it went wrong? Like what's
I
going
did
on?
I did think about that, but I also realized that there's so much factors that were involved. I mean, sometimes it's not even just about, this understanding of religion. It's also the blatant um going after me, who is obviously very open and queer, and yet you see other because I'm not the only one who does Jesus as a character here.
Mm-hmm.
There are comedians who do Jesus here as a character, would have sometimes offensive jokes about it, but and yet they have singled me out. So what does this mean? So what was going through my mind was not much about how I feel, because when I give in to the emotions, then probably they'll see me at a vulnerable state. What I was thinking was, what does this mean? Why are these people after me? And then I have to be clear on what it means on a bigger picture, and how would a queer person feel if they see me in this vulnerable state when I got arrested and all that. So I have to keep up a very strong person, I guess. I just wanted to send a message wherein, you know, you shouldn't be afraid of being queer. Whatever however you try to present yourself. And I also want not just queer people, but also artists. Like anyone who's just trying to just express themselves, not necessarily queer, to just not be afraid to express themselves. Because I also get a lot of support from the artist community, and
Mm-hmm.
they've even made some pieces that was kind of inspired to what happened, but at the same time they were like, they're as a creative, what does this mean for people that wherein they can just go against people who have different ideas? There's a comedian who went up to me. You know what? I don't agree with what happened to you. I think they just really went up to you because you're gay. That's it. Because there are some
Mm-hmm.
comedians who make jokes about the church,
You're right.
and if it offends them so much, why do they not have any cases? But then again, it was clear. It was already clear from the get-go that it was not really an issue of what my beliefs are, because I'm very sure of what I believe in, and I don't mean to offend anyone. It was really more of a blatant display of homophobia. I'm like, okay, but
Right.
you get to a point where you get really tired, and I got to that such I'm already 34 years old, and I'm not even sure if my rights are protected, and I can't even have the right to marry if I do find
Mm.
someone. So basically,
Right.
even if people say that we have the same rights, we don't. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
wish we did. I wish we did, but we don't. That's what we were fighting for, and I don't think it would help to kind of have the approval or validation of people who are in power, because they will never understand what it means to be queer, because they are not queer. And I'm gonna stand my ground. I'm not gonna like fold or let them get into my head. I just have to
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
just have to, you just have honestly, net Liam, I just have to remind people that it's okay to be gay. I guess that's what's going in my mind when I was
Yeah.
arrested. Like, nope, nope, no one's gonna see me crumble when the
Mhm.
cameras are on because they intentionally invited the media when I was arrested.
Mm.
Mm.
So
Everything
there
was
was a
ready, huh? To capture you.
everyone was like when they were you don't usually do that when you arrest someone, but then
Mhm.
again they were like, oh, we should call the news agencies. Oh, we should have all the journalists
Yeah.
Oh.
they would wake me up at 2 a.m. just so a guy can take pictures of me behind bars and ask me
Mhm.
questions,
Mhm.
and I was already
Wow.
sleeping. They would wake me up and be like, "Hey, someone's in the media. Maybe you should answer these questions." I'm like, "Go ahead, give me the question." you
Yeah.
know?
Because
Yeah,
maybe is the other contributor to that because you were in Manila Luzon's drag den prior to
I
that,
do.
right?
I think there's a factor to when queer people have reached a certain um I don't know when people kind of know them, or
Mm-hmm.
um when I guess the Wicked song popular has there's I guess maybe it is all about being popular. I don't know, but I think
Mm-hmm.
we've always been there. I mean, we've already existed. I did this version of Jesus like really like a long time ago, and then I see
Mm,
nothing wrong with it, and I think there
right.
was no. And yet when you're part of a show and then you become a little more popular, and then people were like, oh no, you're like, oh, you're destroying us, you should burn in hell. I'm like, really, queen? I'm like, that's not the first time I've heard someone say that to me. I'm like,
Oh
yeah,
God.
try better. Try a better insult, I guess. I don't know, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's when people have more visibility, then
Mm-hmm.
they think it's a threat. They think that when there's a queer representation, there's visibility. They think that there's a threat to whatever they're trying to protect. But honestly, why? Why would they even think of us as a threat? And I mean, what are we, up against? We're just fighting for our rights.
Right. I slightly watched your interview in the CNN
Mm-hmm.
Philippines.
Yes.
And with that as well, I just felt like it's because like we're missing something. Like as a fellow queer, again, to clarify, I'm not attacking the church. So just
Yes, of
wanted
course.
to and I just wanted to like clarify something like you said something about, your this is like technically your message to the queer community, not to
Yep.
attack the church, but kind of like, but what's your saying on those? Because like I was looking at the comments. Yes, I do
Yep.
look at the comments and read them.
Okay.
And there is some people who are queers like saying, "Oh, I have a queer partner, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't do this and do that, but I just want the church to love me to the way I am or to see
Mm-hmm.
me and like that." What's your comments on those queers who are just like like trying to like still be in good grades with the church even though the church doesn't accept a partnership of queers.
I think there's a struggle for queer individuals to kind of maintain their faith, because they will always be forced to kind of, not accept parts of who they are because they're trying to appease the church. But there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of churches who are very open to your queerness. And in fact, I do think that the Catholic Church is one of those churches, although they may not admit it, but they're doing things that are also very queer.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, they dressed up their Santo Niños. Their If you're very Filipino, you're like you decorate your church. That's very queer coded, if you ask me. That's part of being
Mm-hmm.
queer, to kind of decorate all of these things. However, I do think that the struggle is real for sure, but I do think that you can also have you can how do I put it? You can reconcile whatever faith that you have with you being queer. It doesn't mean that you also would have to sacrifice your queerness just so you can be with good graces with the church. But at the same
Mm,
time, I think it becomes more complicated when there's politics involved. And I think there's such a thing as respectability politics, wherein people who are part of the marginalized groups would tend to kind of um, try to be with good graces who would with whoever is in power because they think that they can get their rights through that avenue.
mm,
So you would have people who are sometimes, and I experienced this firsthand, that even if they're queer, even if they like, they're drag queens, there are drag queens who did not support me, just so you know, because they were fearful that if they support me, it would also cost it their jobs, or it will cost them their freedom. So
mm,
there were drag queens that kind of did say out loud that hey, we're also against what she did. I'm like,
mhm,
okay. So, but I understand. I think it was really just because of fear, and it's about, there's respectability politics involved. They just want to be respectable. They think that me, that I do not represent the entire LGBTQIA plus community, which I agree. I do not represent the entire community, but I also don't, I also acknowledge that we're all very different.
Mhm.
mhm,
But we're fighting for the same thing, though. You know
Mhm.
mm,
what I'm saying? So we're
Yeah.
fighting for the same rights. We don't. I think there's something wrong with trying to appease whoever is in power, because you're not
mm,
sure that you will get your rights through that avenue. At the same time, here in the Philippines, there are a lot of cases wherein I've been very clear about this. So wherein we try to tell people that the church and the state should be separated, right?
mm,
And
right.
yet it doesn't really apply to all cases, because we have a case here of a church leader that had cases from the FBI from your country. um so he's wanted here. So
Mm,
he has cases of sex trafficking and
mhm,
all of
mhm,
these, really, and yet he managed to hide. And the supporters would say now, oh, it's separation of church and state. Why was that not, done with my case, if that's the
Mhm.
case, um, so that the system is really fucked up. Like it favors one, and then it kind of, demeans the other. And
Mhm.
I'm not gonna let that slide. I mean, and
right.
this particular church leader is running for Senate
Mhm.
Mm,
currently.
Mhm.
wow.
So I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Right.
He has a lot of cases. He had local here in the national government. The FBI is looking for him.
Mm.
So I'm like, girl.
I mean, that's why I feel like too, like sometimes people comfortable with where they at, so they feel like, you should quiet down, like we should be
Yeah,
content how the way we have it now, right? But then you'll hear like, well, but is that forever? Like, what if someday someone is like, hey, you can't do this anymore. We're gonna close all the drag club, like no
correct,
more. Then what?
correct. I
How
think
much more are you gonna have to fight to get that back, right?
correct. Even one of my complainants, or the one that was very critical of what I did,
Mm,
was a trans woman who was a congresswoman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's part of the trans community, the LGBTQIA plus community, and yet we still don't have the same values, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel strongly about this, and this is maybe just a matter of opinion, but I feel like some people are fighting for their privilege,
Mm-hmm.
while some are fighting for freedom.
Yeah.
And if you want a more sustainable way of doing things, I think we should fight for freedom because not everyone
Mhm.
is gonna be privileged. I'm not gonna grovel over who is in power because I'm not a politician. I'm an
Yeah, yeah.
artist. So,
Yeah.
um, but I like what you said, Nat. That yes, it's true that for some people, because it works, the system works for them.
Mhm.
So they don't defend other people because they feel like no, you've done wrong, and I'm like
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Like, we're fine here,
yeah,
but then it's like, but is that really though? Like, that's all you want? Like, don't you want better? You know?
yeah,
If you
yeah,
if
yeah.
you have to if you're in the position to make changes and fight for it, why not?
They wouldn't
I
because they think that they may lose their privileges as well.
Because they already
mm.
made it there, so it's like, why do
Yep,
I?
yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
Yeah, and I just don't like the fact that, I mean, speaking of queer to the queer person, to
Mm.
again, not attacking the church. I'm gonna repeat that in
You
everything we
gotta
do
repeat,
here
of
because
course.
I'm gonna be repetitive. I'm gonna be annoying. My mom told me I should be a lawyer. I felt like when that specific person in politics used the kind of like when they said you cannot use a queer card anymore, it seemed very dismissive, and I felt like you as an artist like uses their platform to advocate and spark important conversation. To hear this from a leader, especially who is a trans, it feels disappointing because it's a risk of dismissing the struggles of LGBTQ community that continues to face. But for me, I hope we can foster more and thoughtful, inclusive discussion that respects both cultural, sensitive, and individual rights. I just felt as well like dismissing another LGBTQ say, oh, you cannot use that for this and that and use the queer card. What if we do that to you back to you? And you know what I mean? Sorry, I'm just very.
Yeah, I know what I mean. I know I
Mhm.
know how you feel about this, but I also was not sure of what she meant when she said I was using the queer code because I wasn't. But I mean, being queer is inherently who I am. So I don't know if I'm not using it as a card. It's just who I am.
Mhm.
I think that's very hypocritical of her to say that as
Yes.
well because
Yes.
she went into office fronting herself as part of the queer community that she was part in. You know,
Mhm.
she was raising the trans flag, or she was making that part of her campaign. And yet, where where are we? I don't
Oh.
know. I think it's more of like I'll always go back to, some people might be blinded by privilege and she may not see it.
Mm.
I think she may not see it. And maybe that's also the problem. She could not see that she's born out of privilege, that not all trans women have the same access to what she has. And in fact, most trans women still are, have their lives endangered. Some have already died. So to
Yeah.
say that, the country is not ready, or because there was a point wherein she made an implication that the SOGIE bill will not be passed because of me. That's something else. I mean, I'm not the one who has office.
Exactly.
I'm not a politician. I'm not a lawmaker. So I
Mhm.
ask her, if I would have the opportunity, what has she done to
Right.
actually make sure that the SOGI bill gets passed. And you can't just pin it, to a particular behavior and an event of a queer person and make it seem like
Blame it.
that's the reason for
Right.
it not being passed. It's been 30 years. That's the longest running bill that we have, and yet it's not being passed. So don't make it about me, honey. No, it's not my problem. Like, check your lipstick before you come for me. No.
I love that. You just quoted Naomi Campbell right there.
Yep, yep. No, no, no.
Like personally, we understood because the religion part of it is some people are offended by that, and your feelings are valid. However, like to kind of dismiss another queer person like that manner, like, and then you kind of use that LGBTQ, like you identify yourself as one of us, and then you said,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's your fault." this is, I don't know, just disappointing.
Yeah, I
Really
know. It is
disappointing.
disappointing. But then
Mm-hmm.
again, I mean, I don't know her that well. I don't even claim that I
Mm-hmm.
know her that well. So I'm like, okay, girl.
Exactly.
But
Well,
she doesn't know me that well. So,
yes. Well, if you want to come into the show and talk about your side, I'm welcome to, and I'm willing to give you my thoughts on things. Yeah,
go.
you know who you are. All right, so I'm going to the SOGIE bill. Going to the SOGIE
Go.
bill. Because some people think it was just only based on same-sex marriage. I wanted to clarify that real quick. It's actually aimed to protecting LGBTQI individual for discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. Seeks to
Correct.
address issues in areas such as employment, education, and public service. So with all of those, like for me and Nick, we're reading this. I was reading this to her, and in America, we immediately have that in our any employment rights. In our contract, it falls under harassment. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ned.
Mhm.
But it's ridiculous. We don't have this type of protection to LGBTQ individuals that could, protect them from their job or schools and stuff. And
Mhm.
Yep.
not to mention also statistically saying there's 7 out of 10 LGBTQ and I Filipinos experience discrimination daily basis, mind you. And
Mhm.
studies shows increasing incidence of hate crimes, harassment, including physical violence, leading to tragic outcomes such as death for LGBTQ and I individuals. And yeah, so that's a very big number right there, and that we still
Yep.
really need to focus on this. Like Sogi Bill has been a topic of a debate for years. What do you think it faces such as a strong oppositions? How can advocates better address those challenges?
Thank you, Liam, and thank you for bringing up those numbers and doing your research. You're very well researched, so I love this. Um, I think it's just to remind people that the Soji bill, although it was renamed, originally the bill was named as Anti-Discrimination Bill.
Mm,
It was named Soji bill because they tried to make emphasis that this is discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Yes, and it's true. Statistics would tell otherwise. Now, even if the Philippines is coined or noted as one of the LGBT friendly countries in Asia, it doesn't really translate in policies because it's only LGBT friendly for foreigners who are visiting. So there's tourism involved, but not much on access to education, to rights, and all of these things. And the numbers would prove that. Um, I think what we want people to kind of remind themselves is there's no gay agenda whatsoever. It's really just to protect human rights. We have a roster of trans women and men that were killed like yearly, and sometimes it becomes alarming. And these are members of the community, specifically in the lower social classes that are also um, the most at risk of discrimination and sometimes death sometimes. um, and if we don't have any policies to protect them, then there's no accountability to what will
mm,
happen. And I think that's already for a queer person, that's already enough to kind of have this frustration, this anger that's building up because
mm,
it's been years. And weirdly enough, in our country, we have one of the first pride marches in Asia, and yet in terms of where we are in terms of rights, it's not even as progressive of some of our neighboring countries. I mean, Thailand has same-sex marriage. And
right.
who another country who from other perspectives might be
Mm-hmm,
very conservative, but they've managed to go past that,
mm-hmm,
they've managed to really see that, hey, queer people are just as they're just human beings.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what we wanted from the get-go on why we are fighting for the passing of the SOGIE bill. I guess the opposition would always think that, oh, it's an entry point to having same-sex marriage in the Philippines, because if the SOGIE bill has already so much opposition, you can imagine the opposition they have for same-sex marriages.
Right.
Um,
You
and
know,
I think there's a lot to fix, not just in the legal system and the laws
hmm
that we have, because these are very, it's not giving, and it's not giving, it's not, it's not what we're fighting for. And I think if it
yeah.
already costs lives, if it already costs the livelihood of people, I think we have to do something about it. And I'm not, and I think that anyone, I should say, has the power to at least give a message to people around,
hmm
of why is it important to speak up. Everyone can speak up. You don't have to be a politician, you don't have to be someone of power. Especially now in social media, you can speak up and let people know that these rights are inherently ours.
I
Mhm.
feel like Gen Z, like nowadays, especially, are more speaking up now. And
Yeah,
not
I
to
agree.
mention also, I feel like I do have a feeling that as we go on, as Gen Zs go on to those seats one day, and see that, like the instead having those two both sides of perspective, I feel like we're almost there. I feel like we're there, but near, like far but near.
Hopefully, it's okay. Little steps, baby steps. It's
Yes,
okay. Yeah.
and thankfully for social media nowadays, because we don't have the media itself just controlling it, but us have the control to it,
Mhm.
Net, like, because since you're from Thailand, is this something like, is this like, do you have any knowledge of, like, in Thailand, like something like this, like that could protect LGBTQ and I individuals, that's like, like could protect them from their working or schools or
Well, like with Thailand, like like everybody's so expressive. They're okay with be who they are. I know
Mhm,
that like same-sex marriage and everything is already passed, but at the same time, like sometimes people can't get through that stereotype,
mhm,
right? I mean, it's still there, it's still around, and I feel like in the workplace, especially because sometimes I look at job description like in Thailand, right? Like what they require and stuff like that. They will specify like from what age to what age, what
Mm,
gender, your height,
okay.
your weight, your
mhm,
looks, and I mean like we talk about other people that we interview that they used to be a flight attendant, but they can't be who they are because
mhm,
they don't
mhm,
want you to be other gender than male or female, right? So when you go to work, you have to put that, face to be presented of like, okay, I am this as of right now. And then when you go home, that's when like you can do drag, right? Like to express
Yeah.
yourself. But it's like, but
mhm,
I shouldn't have to be two human being in one. Like I shouldn't have two soul in one body, right? I should be one soul and express it however I want to at home or at work or wherever. So I mean, the same thing in Thailand though. But I can't
yeah,
really say because I haven't been there
Yeah,
in
I
a while,
mean,
and yeah,
it's not a perfect world, but I
yeah, it's
mean,
not.
I can also empathize with how it is with the Thais and the Filipinos. We kind of get it. We kind of understand where we are at some point.
Hmm.
mhm,
Like we
Yeah,
know that we are we're kind of like sister sister countries, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah,
yeah,
Um, if the Philippines was not colonized by the
Spaniards.
Americans and the Spaniards,
hmm,
we might be somewhat kind of similar to Thailand, for
hmm.
sure.
Mm,
The Thailand is not colonized whatsoever.
Yeah. I don't think that. Okay, I looked it up. I'm not really
Yeah.
great with history, but I was like looking it up, and then we're like, yeah, Thailand actually has never been colonized by anyone.
Yep. Yep. And
So
they were able to retain their own like language all throughout,
yes,
you know.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, if you look into Thailand now, there's like a melting pot of whole, and you know, every culture. There's Buddhist, there's Muslim, there's
Yep.
Catholic, and everything. So there's a whole bunch of yeah.
No, Thailand's really interesting. I like Thailand. I mean,
The
you know,
food
yeah.
and a lot of
Girl.
spice.
Right, right.
And the
Spicy.
men. Just kidding.
The man.
Okay, I didn't know.
Kidding.
With all the
Um,
BL, I love
the BL.
the
Oh
BL.
gosh.
Yeah.
What are well, another question is what do you think the biggest concession Filipinos have the LGBTQ community? And how can we work to change them?
Well, I think the queer community just needs in the Philippines just needs a bit of confidence and to being who they are. And I think there's also a tendency for Filipino queer people who need to compensate for being who they are. So most queer people, me included, would sometimes kind of try to overcompensate by having a good job probably, or trying to achieve something, be successful. And then people be like, oh, it's okay, he's gay but he's successful. I'm like, but then you realize that no, you don't have to exert so much pressure on yourself in order to be accepted uh in society. I think we don't have this much pressure for the heterosexual counterpart. So why do we exert the same pressure for queer people? If anything, I think we should just be comfortable with the idea that queer people should just exist. We're just human beings. We make mistakes for sure, but I mean, we're just human beings. And I think there was a politician before who said that, queer people are like animals. And
Hmm.
yep, in this I'm referring to Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, he said that in an interview. Um Even if he said that, I can look past that because I think he was born in a man's world. He might be thinking that, he was
Right.
raised differently, but I will not accept being compared to animals. And in fact, I
Right.
think, even in the animal kingdom, homosexuality is normal. So
Mm,
why do you demean gay people by trying to imply that, like, where no her his exact words were like less than animals,
mm,
something to that effect. But then again, I mean, like, okay, he's a boxer. He did, contribute to Filipino pride. People will love him, and he entered politics. But it's also a reflection of where our values are. And I'm not saying this because I wanted people to hate Pacquiao or whatever. He's just
yeah.
human. For sure, he can learn a few things, if
Right.
anything. I mean, we think we should move past that. We think we should be in a society wherein, okay, if that's what you think, I think you better educate yourself. So I hope he has learned how to educate himself on that matter. Um,
Right.
but it's just more of a reflection of where we are. I mean, honestly, I don't think people still view queer people here as equals, or they kind of see it as, I don't know, like, when a kid is queer here, you'd be like, oh, too bad, you're gay. I'm like, what the fuck? I
Right.
mean,
I mean,
yeah,
technically, educate yourself or else you will not lose any Nike endorsement. No shade, but tea.
yeah.
But
But it's also, people might not also see how damaging these statements are for queer
Mm,
people in terms of how they view themselves, and also for people on how they treat other people. Because if you're going to keep
mm,
that narrative of saying that, oh, queer people are less, or queer people are weak, or queer people are to be ashamed of, then of course people who might listen to you will also think that, oh, it's rightfully so that we express hate on these people because they are weak, or they're, and that's not something that I want people to to get. If anything, I
mm,
want people to be comfortable that, queer people exist. They have existed from the beginning of time. It will continue to exist. We will
Mhm.
continue to thrive.
Yeah.
So I think we can learn from the lessons of how it is in other countries. I mean,
mhm,
the states, for example,
mhm,
fighting for civil rights, all of these things. If we learn from these lessons, we
mhm,
take what we can get from them, then maybe we can also apply it to how it is in our country. And I do think, I'm hopeful because I don't want to lose hope, but I also am very worried and very scared, or saddened, not scared, saddened by how things were, because we've
mhm.
already it has costed a lot of lives. They may not
Yeah.
know their names, but some, there there's a popular case, the one that was um very controversial. Jennifer Laude was killed by a US soldier.
Mm,
um she was found in a hotel. Her head was in the toilet.
mm,
um but Pemberton, the guy who did a crime,
mhm,
um was granted, um he was sent back to the States, so he was pardoned.
mm,
um was it fair? Of course not. But it was also not acknowledging that this can happen to the trans women in the Philippines in the future, because there's no law that actually protects them. You know, I mean, if it
Mhm.
has happened, sure. I mean, I'm all for pardoning, if okay, fine, but it's not me that was being done wrong. It was Jennifer Laude and her family.
Mhm.
So what does that say? I mean, if
mhm,
these crimes continue to, it has happened. What
mhm.
are the measures that we're doing to prevent it from happening?
Mhm.
It's not enough. It's really not enough. But yeah, yeah,
I'm
and yeah.
Mhm.
and I'm really thankful that you're here with us and you choose us again as your first American podcast to come into and talk about this. And it just really, there's some stuff that we didn't really know. There's some stuff that
Mm-hmm.
we know already, but kind of like re-educate us on that. We're thankful to have you, really, because like you're one of
Oh,
the.
thank you.
Yeah, because it's funny because I was kind of like doing some research last night, like who are like the one of the iconic gay LGBTQ individuals in the Philippines. It's
Yeah.
funny they listed you part of that, like under Vice Ganda.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Whoa.
like no, seriously, because like this is what the list of the names are. You're the first one, Pura Luka Vega, Marlene Argalar, Danton Ramoto, Jiggly Caliente, Vice
Whoa.
Ganda.
Chicklets made the list.
I know.
You're
I was like,
in it.
whoa. Lisa Dino, Isa Segura, um,
Mm-hmm.
and Eric, and PJ Pascual, and Mila Habajan. So,
Mela. Oh
yeah,
yeah, I love
so
Mela.
So, yeah, all of those people, and you're under that. How do you feel being a part of that, being LGBTQ iconic in the Philippines, like being under
I
that list?
I think I don't
Wait
really
lang.
know how to feel
Also,
about
John
that. Okay.
Fadeliaga, from me, from my heart. Okay, te, ikaw na
Word.
rin. There you go. From my
I don't
heart,
know.
te. Okay.
Sige.
Uh-huh.
Ano, honestly, I don't know how to feel about it, because honestly, I just was speaking my mind. I'm already at
Mhm.
this point wherein I not I just speak my mind. You know, people might have opinions of it. I might also, but I'm open to be educated if I do say things that are, you know, not, but no, but sometimes the things that I say, I do think about it, and these are like based on the things that I've read, the research that I've also done. But
Mhm.
I don't also think much about whether I'm making a change, because it's not about, I don't know if I'm making a change. I'm really,
Mm,
I'm blinded, or I don't know if what I do is enough. But what I can
Mhm.
say is I'm doing what I can.
Mhm.
That is, I think,
mm,
what's important. I don't necessarily think that I have the resources to make a bigger impact, but I am just really grateful that for whatever platform I was given, the art form that I was able to enjoy was enough for me to make a statement, was enough for me to make these conversations, to talk about all of these things. Was that to me was something I'm already very grateful for. Whether I make it to the top list that you're referred to is
mm,
nothing much. I don't think it's much of my concern, but
mm,
I mean, I'm grateful for the acknowledgement, but
yeah.
I don't know if we've really achieved our objective if we don't have yet the things that we are
We
fighting
fight
for.
for.
So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. What are your advice for those young advocates of LGBTQ, or and what are the yeah, what's your advice for them? Just being, them.
I mean, if you're gay, be gay. um, just love yourself. I
Mm,
mean, one thing that you can probably counter with a world that's so much hate in this world. I think, corny as it may sound, if you love yourself so much and you have plenty of love to share, that's actually one way how we can combat the amount of hate that was being thrown at us. So, like my Tita Whitney Houston would always say, the greatest love of all is
mm,
learning how to love yourself.
mm.
So keep on loving yourself, girl. I mean,
Yeah.
and keep on sharing that love. And then sometimes you'd be surprised, the ones who have so much hate are the ones that probably need love the most. So,
Mhm.
that's what Jesus has been telling me. So I keep on just doing what Jesus did. Like, we love our neighbors, we love our enemies. I mean, we don't take shit, and we fight back, but we kind of, at the end of the day, we kind of have to tell ourselves or remind ourselves that, oh, we're all human beings here. So let's
Mhm,
not forget our humanity. We live in a world wherein we're forgetting our humanity. We have to remind ourselves of our humanity. With so much war going on, so
Mhm.
much,
mhm.
all of these really crazy things that are happening in this world, we might have forgotten how to be human. I think we need to remind ourselves that. And yeah, it goes for all young people, whatever, young or old. Just let's love
But
each other.
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's be
I
kind
love.
to one another. Yeah.
Hopefully, one day that once we pass and get to that other side of the bridge, like past the SOGIE Bill, hopefully they
Hmm.
remembered your piece, because it's actually, I mean, not attacking religion again. Um, it's just that it just like it did spark the conversation to the SOGIE Bill, and some people who doesn't really know about SOGIE Bill started to know it.
Mhm.
And because yours,
Mhm.
it became like a headline to the world. It became not just like not disrespecting like platform like Drag Race Philippines or Dragon Den, to fight
Yeah,
for
yeah,
their
yeah.
advocacy, but yours became like all over the place. Yeah. So
Well,
yeah.
I just wish people would, um I think there's value in really just learning from one another. And I'm really glad that you have this platform, the Matcha Talk podcast. So it
Mhm.
it it sends it makes people be aware of the conversations that we need to have.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for
Thank
having
Thank
me.
you
you.
so much. And do you have well, with your continual work and stuff, like do you well I know we do know that you have Loka Loka, the
The
podcast. Like
podcast. I have not even
yes.
posted like a new podcast for it. Yeah, I might do it anytime. I don't know if the time, but yeah.
And what when where will we see Pura Luka Vega? And what are we looking for Luka Vega's 2025 journey?
Thank you. Well, I'm happy that I'm working on a comic book. I hope to.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I'm excited for it because I think for next year they'll be doing the artwork for the comic book that I wrote.
Mhm.
And I'm just happy that a publisher was interested in me writing because I also like to write. And I have also a lot of interesting projects in the art community. For this year I was able to make an art piece I was my first ever art piece. It was in a legit art gallery. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
um
wow.
yeah, I'm happy with doing all of these things. At the same time, I don't think I'll stop contributing to the night scene or the rave parties, because I think parties are actually pretty essential if you ask me. They help unite
Right.
people, a sense of community. So all of these things I look forward for 2025. All of these art projects, these artsy fartsy type of thing. I love doing art. So
I feel like I have a feeling of one of your projects already, so I'm not gonna say, but okay.
really, what was it? Oh, oh yeah, I think I know. Okay, okay.
I know.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But
Well, good luck with
I
that. You know.
but also with what cost again with your social media and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
do you have any like will you have any more talks about other things in SOGIE Bill part, or like will you be joining other competition like other
Mm-hmm.
than Drag Den, or will you be having a show here in America? We're happy to have you here
Wow.
in Bay Area, by the way. I think the
Well, I
Mabuhay bitches will
mean,
have you.
if there's an invitation, why not? I am just very happy with the projects that I have, but I'm looking forward to whatever life throws at me. The universe has been very kind to me. God has been kind to me. Jesus has given me all the things that I needed. Um, and I'm very happy and I'm very hopeful for 2025 because I feel like whatever I've worked hard on for this year will finally be,
True.
something that will be given to me for this year. I mean, for the next year. Um, I am continuing my legal battle still, so I still go to the court hearings.
Hmm.
But then again, I'm also using that as an opportunity to really just educating the people on what we're fighting for and also what drag is all about, because people still don't get that drag is art. You know, so we there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot to do. And hopefully the project that I'm working on trying to advocate for drag would be in fruition for 2025. But then again, it's still in the blueprint phase. But yeah, I'm just so excited for next year because I feel like it's
It's gonna
it's
be a
one
big
hell of a
year.
year. What?
I feel it's gonna be a big year and
It's gonna
stuff.
be a
Don't
big
worry,
year.
we'll invite you here in America definitely. Cause
I
yeah.
I I will visit you hopefully soon. I don't know.
Thank you
Let's
so
just
much for
manifest.
Luca.
Yes, thank you, Leon. Thank
Thank
you,
you for
Nat.
being here.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Well, again, this is the Matcha Talk podcast. I'm Liam.
I'm Net.
And bye for now. All right. Thank you guys so much. See you soon.
Yay!
Bye.
Thank you, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed our episode of our podcast today.
Before you go, please make sure to follow us on Instagram, matchatalk_podcast.
Don't forget our TikTok account, it's Matcha Talks. All right. We hope to hear from you soon.
Bye.
Bye.